Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today another detailed forecast update coming your way. We're going to be talking about some showers and storms extending across the southern states of Australia, also some rain up in far north Queensland. We'll come back down and talk about some cold weather across the east of the nation, and some heavy rain that is expected across Western Australia. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and also to leave a like on the video while you're at it. We're going to start things off, however, down south, talking about winter weather systems before talking about thunderstorm activity in New South Wales. So as you can see here, a cold front is approaching the southern states of South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania. Already winds are starting to pick up across the coastlines there. You can see observations extending from Kangaroo Island through to the Victorian coastline, approaching 40 to 50 kilometres an hour in some locations, 50 kilometres an hour on King Island, and then in Tasmania you've already got gale force winds and gale force wind gusts across the mountainous areas and the west coast. So winds certainly starting to pick up here ahead of this cold front, and it is a strong one, might I add here. We're expecting this to deliver some rainfall, especially to the coastal locations between the Eyre Peninsula right through South Australia and into Victoria as well. We're also expecting some heavy rainfall across the west coast of Tasmania, potentially up to 25 millimetres of the stuff later today, before this cold front does weaken off as it moves into the Bass Strait and then into the Tasman Sea. Very slowly, might I add, the rainfall will continue through Victoria and Tasmania right throughout Saturday. It's only going to be Sunday morning when the rainfall does start to contract a little bit more to the coastline, but still it is going to be a pretty wet day on Sunday, especially into Sunday morning, and with temperatures plummeting with this high pressure system over here located in South Australia and the very cool southerly flow in its wake, we're going to be seeing temperatures absolutely plummet, and that's going to be bringing the snow line down to around 900 metres for Victoria, 1,000 metres for New South Wales, and potentially as low as 700 metres for the southern areas of Tasmania. So we're going to be seeing widespread snowfall accumulations from Saturday night into Sunday night when the rainfall and the snowfall does completely clear out, but snowfall will be down to quite low elevations, and it could be quite heavy at times, especially through Victoria and New South Wales, potentially up to 15 centimetres of the stuff falling before the next working week starting Monday. Certainly going to be an interesting weather system as it moves into the Tasman Sea as well. With the high pressure system and the southerly flow in its wake, it is going to be brutally cold, might I add, especially into New South Wales and Victoria, which we will touch on in just a second. So just taking a look at the rainfall accumulation here, there's really not too much to be talking about in regards to this cold front, and it is kind of the only major weather system to happen over the next 10 days here. It's looking fairly dry, but over the next 3 days, rainfall accumulations across South Australia, negligible. They're going to be locations along the coastline, especially in the southern extremities of the state, that pick up between 20 and 30 millimetres, but again that's going to be isolated to areas around Robe. Adelaide itself only expecting 5 millimetres, and that's going to be very hit and miss as well. The Victorian coastline has had the majority of its rainfall, but still another 20 millimetres expected from this cold front. Melbourne expecting about 10 millimetres or so. Again, the rainfall could be very hit and miss there. Rainfall is going to be light throughout Victoria, and it's going to be comparatively light throughout Tasmania as well. Still a couple of very good drops expected on the west coast, up to 60 millimetres of the stuff. Hobart as usual missing out, but still could expect 10 millimetres of drizzle from these cold fronts. But the east and the northeast expecting very minimal rainfall from a weather system like this, which is to be expected, but again rainfall still on the lower side from a cold front like this. In terms of snowfall as well, the widespread snowfall accumulations across Tasmania and Victoria, not so much in terms of widespread across New South Wales, but still some decent accumulations expected in the high countries, up to 15 centimetres of the stuff as well. And then across Victoria as well, some good accumulations also expected there. The little spots of snowfall accumulations here in the lower plains in the western parts of the state, I don't think that is truth at all. The forecast models do say that every now and then, but again, I don't think that's going to reciprocate at all. I do actually prefer the Access G3 for snowfall forecast, so this is what the Access G3 does say, but I reckon in terms of snowfall from this weather system, 2 or 3 centimetres is really light indeed. However, 2 to 3 centimetres is probably going to be the amount of snow that does settle, especially in the lower elevations. A lot of this snowfall will come mixed with rainfall. But yeah, that basically does it for this cold front here. There's really not too much to be talking about, and as you can see over the next couple of days with that high pressure system, it's going to be bitterly cold and not too much in the way of rainfall until next weekend when some rainfall does kick up here, but that is a story for another video. We're going to pull the forecast back right now and talk about some cold weather that's going to be extending across New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland, the southern parts of Queensland, powered by a high pressure system that's going to get itself wedged over the southeast of the nation sometime on Sunday, and that is going to provide some very cold temperatures from Sunday afternoon right through to the first parts of next week. Again, we're reciprocated amongst the forecast models, so this forecast here is very much a certainty. It's going to be bitterly cold Monday morning in the mountains, probably going to be one of the coldest days of the year in some of the high countries. I'm expecting areas such as Cabramatta or Cooma, or even up into the mountains around Thredbo and Perisher Valley, to have one of their coldest mornings of the year, potentially down to minus 10 degrees Celsius. Very cold indeed up there, and also very cold as you get further north up towards Glen Innes and Armidale. Temperatures as low as -4 there, and even into the high countries in Queensland, temperatures getting very close to zero, if not at zero, and those frosts with temperatures down to about 2 or 3 degrees, extending as far north as Queensland, and widespread frosts expected through New South Wales and Victoria as well. Monday isn't going to be the worst of the days, however, we're not expecting temperatures to rise into double digits for some locations, so it will still be really cold throughout the entirety of the day on Monday. Tuesday morning expected to be the worst day in terms of frosts, a huge swathe of temperatures going towards zero or just below zero in some places across Victoria and New South Wales, especially in the agricultural districts, and again absolutely awfully cold in the mountainous regions, down to -10 across Thredbo and Perisher Valley, so absolutely awful there. And once again, I would not be surprised if Tuesday gave the previous days in July a run for their money in terms of coldest days of the year. Again, I'm making this out to sound like it's going to be really cold and really dangerous weather. This is completely normal for this time of the year, but I'm saying that it's going to be so ludicrously cold because we're expecting such widespread frosts across New South Wales, with temperatures down to 6 or 7 degrees Celsius below average for some of these locations in terms of an overnight minimum. It's going to be a big frost day, or a couple of big frost days, Monday, Tuesday, and even in towards Wednesday as well. You can see temperatures not much warmer on Wednesday and still very much below zero across Victoria and in Tasmania as well. I mean, we've neglected Tasmania, but just considering the nature of the island state, it is going to be very cold indeed, and that does go without saying. Again, even into the southern parts of Queensland on Wednesday, temperatures going very close to zero, if not below zero, for these farming communities. So if you are a farmer out there or you are travelling through there, first of all, make sure you do rug up. Second of all, big frost day is expected. A little bit of relief for the first day of August on Thursday, with the passage of a cold front starting to make its way through South Australia. It's going to be kicking this high pressure system out, and it looks like Thursday morning it's going to be a little bit warmer. Still frost expected, but it will be a little bit warmer, which is great to see. And then Friday, Saturday, and next weekend becoming a lot warmer for everywhere apart from the high countries, which is, again, fantastic to see because we don't want to see them freezing forever. But this is sort of the weather that you get this time of the year. It's definitely the weather you get this time of the year, rather, but big frost days are expected. So once again, if you are a farmer and you are concerned about frost and brown rot and whatnot, then make sure you are looking at the forecast very closely and preparing adequately for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday throughout Victoria and New South Wales, and even the southern halves of Queensland as far north as sort of Roma or Charleville. The temperatures will be very cold indeed. Now that basically does it for the winter weather stuff. We're going to talk about some tropical stuff right now, because overnight we have had some showers and storms fire up across the northern parts of New South Wales, around Lightning Ridge right through to Tamworth, Armidale, and then now extending across between Newcastle and Coffs Harbour. And you can see here with the radar overlaid with the satellite imagery, there is still some heavy falls out here, averaging about 15 millimetres an hour. And as you can see on some of the rainfall observations out here, they have had, if we can find one that's been recording rainfall, they have had a couple of good drops in the past 24 hours. Here's one, 20 millimetres in the last 24 hours, bang on what was forecast. So again, a fantastic forecast from those forecast models, which is fantastic to see. But yeah, some pretty good spots between 5 and 25 millimetres or so, which is fantastic to see. They have been lacking a little bit of rainfall, and it is good to see that it is finally coming. And it was from thunderstorms as well, which again, great to see. A little bit of a taste of summer ahead of these cold fronts. It was quite warm. Today as well, expected to be a relatively warm day, up towards 20 degrees for some locations in northern New South Wales. Lightning Ridge expecting a maximum of 22 degrees. It's probably going to be one of the hottest parts of the state, apart from the northeastern corner where it'll go towards 23, 24 up there. But yeah, pretty warm indeed. That's going to be driving enough energy and enough moisture in the atmosphere to really provide some more thunderstorm activity throughout the very northern parts of New South Wales and the southern parts of Queensland. These storms look like they're going to be over the border on the Queensland side of things, but don't be surprised if a few thunderstorms pop up around Tamworth or Coffs Harbour along the coastline, or even up towards Lightning Ridge in New South Wales, still very close to the border. But again, a couple of good drops are possible tonight. The forecast has changed a little bit, and we could be seeing up towards 10 to 15 millimetres for areas around St George. Again, these thunderstorms shouldn't make it north of Charleville or Roma, and probably not as far east as Toowoomba, or definitely not Brisbane and the Gold Coast, but still a couple of drops of rainfall expected expected out here. Again, fantastic to see, and it will continue into Saturday morning as well before light to moderate rainfall takes its place and dumps some pretty widespread accumulations, but they won't be too heavy, only a couple of millimetres expected out here, 10 millimetres at the most from the rainfall that's going to be coming through Saturday night into early Sunday morning. In terms of rainfall over the next 3 days, which includes today, tomorrow and Sunday, expecting some good rainfall as well, 27, 28 millimetres, so up to 30 millimetres out here north of St George. A lot of this will come from that steady rainfall on Saturday night into Sunday morning, but then this rainfall down here, which is going to be thunderstorm based, a lot of it coming through tonight into early tomorrow morning, a further 30 to 40 millimetres expected. It will be hit and miss once again, but still locations such as Moree, Tamworth, Dubbo expect a couple of good drops of rainfall tonight and into tomorrow morning. For interest in Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and to be honest, the entirety of the northeast and New South Wales coastline, the rainfall will be hit and miss, but once you get up towards Gold Coast and Brisbane, that sort of area, not expecting any rainfall, and definitely nothing on the Sunshine Coast either. Maybe a few drops as far north as the Gold Coast, but again, rainfall will be very hit and miss there. The entirety of the Queensland coastline actually is expecting a couple of drops of rainfall actually, and a lot of that's going to be coming through today, which leads us very nicely onto the next part of our video, which is going to be a bit more of a tropical forecast for far north Queensland. An onshore flow, which you can see on the satellite imagery here, is providing some showers and some gusty winds as well for the Queensland coastline. You can see here a few spots already picking up a couple of millimetres of rainfall over the past 24 hours. As far north as Townsville as well. In fact, Townsville is looking at a couple of millimetres today. The bulk of the rainfall, of course, concentrated up in far north Queensland outside of Innisfail, Tully, and as far north as Cairns, so we will be keeping a very close eye on those areas as well. But powered by this low pressure trough that's going to be in the Coral Sea, we're expecting a few showers and maybe the odd thunderstorm and strong wind gust extending across the Queensland coastline throughout today, tomorrow, and in towards Sunday as well, before the rainfall becomes a little bit more steady here and there. A bit of drizzly activity expected on Sunday for parts of central Queensland as far south as Rockhampton and Gladstone, and the rainfall continuing for far north Queensland. A couple of good drops expected throughout the weekend before a bit of a return to the dry weather by next week later, or maybe later next week by the looks of this forecast now, Thursday and Friday. Again, the forecast models seem to be updating when I make these videos, so a bit of a change in the forecast here. We could be seeing rainfall throughout the entirety of next week for far north Queensland, and it could be good rainfall as well. In fact, we're looking at up to 100 millimetres of this stuff, which is great to see up there. They are actually starting to enter a little bit of a dry phase, with some areas currently experiencing lower than average soil moisture values, which after an incredibly wet season, it is a little bit hard to believe, but certainly the rainfall up there will be welcome for some of these locations. It's not going to be heavy once again, but considering some of these locations are already or still have their rivers flowing, and any more rainfall, any substantial rainfall such as 50 millimetres or 80 millimetres or so, which is completely possible in weather events like this, it could cause some flooding, and that is why I am talking about it in this video. For the remainder of the Queensland coastline, the rainfall should be out of the way by Sunday afternoon into Monday morning, and it could be providing, like I said, some good drops for some locations. In fact, rainfall over the next 5 days expected to be a pretty hit and miss couple of millimetres here, but a few drops in what has been a very dry season, very typical dry season, might I add. But yeah, in the next 5 days, far north Queensland as well, expecting some good rainfall up to 30 millimetres of the stuff. Again, nothing crazy there, but I do find that some of the valleys, especially around Belen and Kerr, that sort of area, the rainfall can be 3 or 4 times what the forecast model says, and 100 millimetres is certainly some rainfall to be looking at, especially if it falls all in one day or in a 12-hour period, and it is tropical far north Queensland, and anything can happen weather-wise up there. More rainfall coming through to end off the month, Wednesday and Thursday, but again, the forecast has been pretty uncertain on this, so I take this with a very heavy pinch of salt here, and the rainfall looks like it's going to be continuing right through into the first week of August. But again, the forecast has been pretty volatile on this situation here, so I'm going to take this forecast with a very heavy pinch of salt. But if it does come to fruition, we're looking at up to 110 millimetres of rainfall for areas around far north Queensland outside of Abinda and Innisfail. Also some good rainfall up in the Daintree, 105 millimetres of the stuff. Cairns missing out, net protected as usual, only about 10 millimetres expected there. And inland communities such as Atherton and Mareeba, a pretty hit and miss, 20 to 30 millimetres. And out at Carbine, very little rainfall is expected, possibly some drizzle, but again, very little rainfall is on the forecast out there. The tropical scene has been relatively uncertain over the past couple of days, so again, we will be taking this forecast with a very heavy pinch of salt. We will keep a very close eye on things as well. Now down in Western Australia overnight, Perth has had a very good drop of rainfall, some locations picking up 30 millimetres. My gauge over the past 3 days just keeps getting topped up, and we're now at 45 millimetres, so very healthy rainfall. in the southern suburbs, which is again fantastic to see for Perth. And as you can see on the 10-day rainfall accumulation map, more rainfall is on the cards, and you've probably seen it on the Bureau of Meteorology forecast, especially if you live in the southern suburbs. You're looking at possible heavy showers later next week. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's break down the forecast right now. We're expecting a dry day actually on Saturday, mostly sunny from the Bureau of Meteorology, and I do think that that is going to happen. Just a few showers for the southwest of the state around the southern capes, such as Naturalist or Lorne, expecting a few showers there before a cold front starts to build up Sunday morning. The initial band is going to cross the southwest coast sometime at around 2 or 3 a.m, but the rainfall will start many hours before that. For Perth, expecting the rainfall to start to pipe up at least to the metro area at around sort of 6 or 7 a.m. on Sunday. Again, this forecast does look pretty volatile here and things could change. It's not expected to be too heavy until about the afternoon hours Sunday night, expecting the actual cold front Sunday night to sweep up from the south and impact the Perth metro area. And as I have been saying over the last couple of days, because of how warm the Lorne current is running, I would not be surprised if some powerful thunderstorms did fire up that did go severe warn for heavy rainfall or potentially damaging winds sometime Sunday night into Monday morning. So we're going to keep a very close eye on the radar late Sunday night. I would not be surprised if we were waking up to severe thunderstorms on Monday morning. That is certainly going to be something to keep an eye on. And with these cold fronts here, which do fire up some severe thunderstorms, the risk of waterspouts extends between Bunbury and Jurien Bay. And I know I might seem crazy for saying waterspouts. I mean, not in Australia, certainly not, but we have had a very good run with waterspouts so far this year, where a lot of cold fronts have fired them up. So again, this cold front going to be no different. Moving over the warm waters of the Lorne Current, it will have the chance to fire up some strong, potentially severe thunderstorms. The rainfall continuing through Monday, reaching the northern suburbs by around early Monday morning, and showers expected to continue through Monday into Monday night, when they will actually increase a little bit. Showers also continuing through Tuesday. They could be heavy at times on Tuesday as well. And then Wednesday, another strong cold front moving through the southwest. It looks like more rainfall is going to be happening on Wednesday and into Thursday, when the rainfall does finally start to ease off, and in its wake we get a high pressure ridge, which will keep things comparatively dry for a little bit. They're also going to keep the temperatures very cold indeed across the southwest and the Wheatbelt region. And then the weather becomes a little bit more uncertain as we get towards August, mainly because of this low pressure system here. I just don't buy it right now, considering it's a new addition to the forecast. It is plausible. Weather events like that have happened before. Even this year, weather events have happened like that. But we're just going to have to wait and see with what this weather event does here. And I will be keeping you posted on that. And there's no better way to keep yourself updated than by subscribing to the channel. And like I said, temperatures expected to plummet for the first week of August as well, in the wake of all of this rainfall. That is very typical for this time of year as well. But we could be seeing some frost days across the southwest, which is exactly what the farmers do not want to hear, especially in the northern parts of the wheat belt, which will be a little bit milder, but still they've had an excellent cropping season so far, especially in the northern parts of the wheat belt. And this rainfall, you do not want the crops to be ruined at all. In terms of peak rainfall accumulations, over the next 24 hours to the southwest, not too much rainfall is expected, except for locations between Albany and Esperance. A little bit more rainfall expected for the coastal suburbs around Perth, such as Fremantle or Rockingham, out towards Rottnest Island as well. A few showers also expected throughout the course of today, but negligible rainfall for the Perth metro area. Rainfall will begin to pick up with the passage of the cold front on Sunday night. You can see accumulations expected to be as high as 70 millimeters on Sunday, and I would not be surprised if locations around Harvey or Collie, outside of Bunbury or Mandurah, did receive 70 millimeters on Sunday from the passage of the cold front. I reckon rainfall around the southern suburbs of Perth will be between 20 and 30 millimeters, and I think rainfall in the northern suburbs will be a hit and miss between 10 and 20 millimeters, and in the eastern suburbs as well, pretty hit and miss, but I do reckon rainfall between 15 to 25 millimeters. Again, we will have to wait and see on the day here. Rainfall does begin to pick up over the 5-day forecast, but again, a couple of dry, I guess a bit of a dry phase expected Monday night into Tuesday, before the rainfall picks up again on Wednesday and Thursday, and we could be seeing another 50 millimeters, maybe even more rainfall for the Perth metro area from those heavy showers that are expected to be moving through mid next week. Good rainfall as well on the southwest capes, up to 100 millimeters of the stuff, maybe 120 in one or two locations. Again, looking very wet across the coast, and also pretty wet into the wheat belt as well. The entirety of the wheat belt between Geraldton down through a line to Esperance, expecting at least sort of 15 millimeters over the next 10 days, minus a little spot outside of Bremer Bay, south of Newdigate, where the rainfall does drop off a little bit there. But again, that is typically the driest part of the wheat belt, especially throughout winter. Good rainfall though, especially towards the west of Albany Highway. Rainfall will be at least sort of 35 or 40 millimetres for a lot of locations. And then out into the wheat belt as well, the central parts around Great Eastern Highway expecting good rainfall, and into the northern parts of the wheat belt as well around Great Northern Highway, and just naming all the highways right now, we're expecting up towards 25 or 30 millimetres of the stuff. Rainfall not really penetrating out into the Murchison from this front from this time, and you can see rainfall from the weather system that's expected to materialise across central Western Australia is huge. And I don't know why. Again, I just can't make my mind up on whether that system is going to be happening. I will be able to provide a solid answer in around 1 or 2 days' time, though, so make sure you do stay tuned for that. This video has blown out in length. I think this will be one of the longest videos I have made, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Your support is greatly appreciated, and I could not run this show without you, so please, if you haven't already, do consider subscribing. We're getting closer and closer to 20,000, and your support is, like I said, greatly appreciated. Thank you so much to the channel sponsors as well. Their names are on screen right now, and I could not run this show without them. And yeah, that is all from me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.